Hello everyone! Today we're having another themed event and this one is very Slovenian. We are having moonshine and mountains and farms since this is the culture of our people. So for this occasion I decided to do a black goat costume and it's kinda like black sheep, only it's disappointment from the mountains. So the executive decision to make this particular costume was I wanted to make horns. Like a proper set of horns. I haven't done those and that's what we're gonna start with today. I really didn't want to make pattern for this one, so I searched high and low all the way to the second page of Google for some in my budget, which is of course zero. I then had to resort to some good old-fashioned DIYing from stuff I have at home and trash, preferably also from home. So I started with making a frame from this thick wire I had at home from another project. Then I stuffed it with some old newspapers to keep shape. Then I taped it with everything I have at home. We have some alufoil, we have some masking tape, some regular tape, and to finish it all off, I taped it with the far superior duct tape. I have very clearly never done this before. I'm doing my best. Then I drew on the shapes and I cut them out. I laid them flat on the surface and made some adjustments so the pieces were nice and flat, and that's how I got the pattern pieces out of it. When I had all the pattern pieces, my assistant brought me the thick Eva foam and she then proceeded to destroy. Not very demure or mindful. After I wrestled the foam away from the cat, I started tracing the pattern pieces on it and then I cut them out. Then I glued them all together and some parts of this were a little tricky and not the prettiest. Also, I used some help from paper tape to help keep the 3D foam I wanted. When I had basic shape glued and dried, I cut out some pieces, so the horn is starting to turn more how I want it to. So I went back and forward for a little bit with this technique, if you can call it that, to achieve the shape I wanted in the end. And here is how that looks like. And at this point, we're gonna start trusting the process and we have severe trust issues. So for this, I ordered some new foams that I haven't used before to try them out. And this one is thicker and more lightweight one. And I decided to use that for the details. So I just started cutting strips out of it and gluing them around and around to create the horn design that I'm looking for. I am making them gradually larger for every round, but not large enough to be noticeable. It would be probably better if I used this foam for the entire thing, but I didn't have enough since I ordered a small piece for testing, so I didn't want to risk it. I also made an upgrade to a heat gun, so I also used that to shape the horns even more after I was done gluing. I also used it to shape the Eva foam on more naturally and without having to make actual patterns for this, which is though fantastic. And this is how this turned out. Looks pretty good actually. I'm gluing like a toddler being introduced to cutlery for the first time in his life. So I still had some cracks to fix with my magic glue, but it was much less than usual, which was like a breath of fresh air in my cosplay making. After that, I moved on to the details on the horns. I got this thingy. I don't know what it's called, nor do I know how to use it. We can see I'm reading the manual here, but I think the problem is I need a thinner needle on it for the very small details that I wanted to make. Also, the smell was icky as hell. So I gave up on that for a little bit and tried more techniques for the details. I used the Dremel and a box cutting knife and sandpaper, just about anything and everything to test out the grooves in the horns. I also cut off and sanded the edges of the horn. I did also fix the steep edge on the end of the horns. So this is what it looks like after I tried a few techniques. I was just trying them out randomly until I was happy with the result. So up next, I just kept on building this up. So this one took a while, I was switching up between different techniques to get different sizes and depths. And I also smoothed out the glue fixes as well as sanding out the grooves more, and then also the edges to give them more natural shape. Then I went over again with the Bernie boy and more sandpaper and another round of small sandy boy. And with that I am finished and ready for coloring. So I tried the airbrush as well as just regular brush to see the difference. And it looks about the same. So I'll just go over with brush because it's faster. And I also choose the brush because we want some brush strokes to give it a more natural texture. So here are the horns. I made a few layers of the black paint. So I do think it covered the most. We have these ones. This is one of the ones I was worried about that it wouldn't cover, and I was correct, as I usually am. So since the glue is not really noticeable, besides this will be, you can see it now that it's a solid color, but when it has like shading and stuff, I don't think anyone will even notice it. Here where they got connected, yeah, I think I can do a little better. And also here is where the knife escaped. I think it's pretty good. I quite like it. So I went another round with the magic glue to fix some of the more noticeable mistakes that I felt won't be covered with the paint job. So we got another round of sanding and priming the bits I repaired, and then I just painted that over. After that, it was time for oopsies. So I forgot to close the horns on the inside before I started to do all of these modifications, because now the piece that I cut out at the very beginning won't fit in the hole anymore. Now, since the shape got a little deformed with all the, the gluing and the heating up and whatever we were doing. So I just glued that on the inside as best as I could, and I filled all the holes that were left with a hot glue gun. So now this looks like shit, right? So I'm taking a thin EVA foam to cover all of this mess up, because out of sight, out of mind. So I made sure that I glued and or cut all the edges down, and then I glued all this mess with the glue that fixes all my issues in life. I sanded, primed and painted that bad boy, and then it was time for a paint job. I took some grey paint and I made some ombre on the top of the strips with some brushes and sponges. But I felt like the line was a little obvious, so I went back again with the black. I then went in with the most rickety-ass paintbrush I had to make some texture, and I went in there a few times with different shades of grey and black. When I was happy with that, I did a round of white dry brush on the edges, and after that I went in the grooves with some more black paint. Okay, so I didn't really like this color scheme when I was done, so I decided to put some color in the costume to break it up a little bit. So I just put a wash over my horns, and then these horns did not make it in frame for this entire goddamn video. I then glued some fabric on the bottom of the horns to sew them on the wig. So I am done with the horns, but I guess I didn't feel it was an important enough moment in time for me to get any footage of it. So up next, we need some flowers in our hair. So the flower crowns are very popular in like traditional Slavic outfits. So I thought I would incorporate some in this one as well. I also had an assortment of fake flowers that were left over from a previous project. So I cut the flowers off stems, and it's giving Urtisha, and I love that for me. I then did the same process as I have done in several of my other videos. I took the flower apart and I painted all the petals black, and then I put it back together. And then I wanted more different types of flowers because again I felt like it was all the same type. So I went to the forbidden store. So I found these and they reminded me of like these flowers that are grown in the mountains where I'm from. So it felt very fitting for this costume. I painted the base black. After that, I dried brush on some gold on the ends. Another flower I got was this one, since I didn't have any that are like small flowers on the stem. And I also wanted some of these to give, different texture. So I took all of this apart and I painted the inside of the flower gold and stems black. So I got all the flowers and some wires as well as, hot glue gun to make the flower crown. I made a circle from a thick wire for the base and I just started arranging the flowers on and I attached them with like thinner wire and glue. So I like how this looks, but the inside is all icky and some parts are a little hard. So I cut off some bumps and hid some issues, and I also glued on some fabric straps to hide some of the ickiness. And with the power of editing, the horns are already sewn on the wig, but at least we can see them next to Gertrude's soulless 1,000 yards there. So I know the footage is starting to get, a little bit, but my manager is here to talk about this situation. So after all this work making the flower crown, we have an issue. Looks dumb as fuck. So it's not that bad on Gertruda, like honestly she can pull anything off, but it looked fucking stupid on me. So since this was not gonna work out, I'm gonna cut the crown in half and sew the half crown on the wig like a rife. What is it called? That's probably why I said rife. Wait, I have one here. One of these. What is this called? One of these bad boys. I am so glad I did like half of the work for nothing. Love that for me. I also put the hair in like an updo as best as I can. And it was not the best, let's be honest, but it's fine. And this is gonna be it for the hair situation. Now for the dress. Yeah, that checks out my one dialogue option that is available. So I spent 0 on the clothes. I already had everything at home. And all of that was either from previous second-hand hauls I made or was something I got for a previous costume. Also, this is all very well on theme as well, because we do have a stereotype about people who live in the mountain area of Slovenia. They are considered to be, cheap. So I got the dress a few years ago. It was €1 and it was giving me, I need to go return to my farm of demon goats ASAP before they burn the village down. Next we have the lacy shirt that was also second-hand, but this was given to me by a friend. Now the shawl I got from the Swamp Witch costume and it was also like €2 or €3 if I remember correctly. I'm very happy that I was able to just gather my outfit like this. Because I am of course, a cheap ass, and I also forgot to go to the second-hand store, and also I spent so much money on this dope ass chair. It can do this. Oh, it went too far. No, this is actually the whole costume, really. So the event was fun. I actually forgot about the costume competition, which is very, very rare for me. No, I do live for the costumes. I also didn't get as much footage as I wanted. Now this is me the next day, and I forgot to turn on the light ring. Genius. I did want to film more on this like pet and nature situation, but this is actually most of the footage I got.
I am filming like a professional, okay?
I'm really not used to having someone film me, so I was just dying from laughter, and also every mosquito in the area came to feast. So I do love this outfit. I love that I dragged it from the depths of my closet and put it together, as well as some fun DIYing that I planned to try out, and it worked out great. I once again wish I had better footage, so if you live in my area and you want to, work with a literal potato, for zero financial compensation, call me. Okay, so this is gonna be it for this one. Like and subscribe for more of whatever the fuck these videos are. I don't know what I'm doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.